I still remember the exact moment my entire marriage shattered. Not because I saw anything, not because someone told me, but because I heard it. A whisper, a laugh that wasn't meant for me. And in that moment, I realized the woman I trusted more than anyone in the world had been living a completely different life behind my back. What she didn't know was that I had already started recording everything. And what I did next? Let's just say I didn't explode. I planned.
If you've ever been betrayed by someone you trusted, if you've ever wanted justice, not just anger, but real, calculated justice, then hit that like button, subscribe, and stay with me. Because this one doesn't end the way you think it will.
We met in college. She was the kind of person people noticed the moment she walked into a room. Confident, intelligent, warm. The kind of smile that made you feel like you were the only person in the world. We grew together, studied together, built dreams together. After graduation, I landed a solid job. She was still finishing up her degree, but it didn't matter. We were a team. 4 years later, we had our own place. Soon after, a house. From the outside, we looked perfect. And honestly, for a long time, I believed we were. It didn't start with something obvious. No lipstick stains, no suspicious messages, just a feeling, a subtle shift. She laughed differently sometimes, got distracted mid-conversation, started guarding her phone just a little too much. Nothing you could point at, but enough to make your gut whisper, something's wrong. I tried to ignore it, told myself I was overthinking, but that feeling didn't go away. It grew. One night, I made a decision I never thought I'd make. I bought a small recording device. I didn't feel proud of it. In fact, I felt ashamed, but I needed to know the truth. I hid it carefully, somewhere no one would casually notice. At first, the recordings were useless, muffled, noisy, random background sounds. But I'm stubborn, so I started learning how to clean the audio, editing, filtering, enhancing. Hours turned into nights, nights turned into obsession. And then, one evening, I heard something.
It started with silence, then footsteps, then voices. Her voice, but softer, different, intimate. Not the way she spoke to me. There was another voice too, a man. At first, my brain refused to process it. No, this isn't real. But it was. And the more I listened, the clearer it became. They weren't just talking. They were close, comfortable, too comfortable. I remember sitting there, headphones on, heart pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. Every instinct screamed at me to stop listening, but I didn't, because deep down, I needed to know how far it went. I wish I could tell you I confronted her right away, that I exploded, that I demanded answers, but I didn't, because something inside me shifted. It wasn't just anger. It was something colder, more controlled. Because here's the thing, she didn't just betray me once. This wasn't a mistake. This was a pattern. And the worst part? She knew. At one point, I realized from the recordings, she had actually found the device. She knew she was being recorded. And she still continued. That's when something inside me broke completely. From that day forward, I acted normal. Same routines, same conversations, same smiles. I kissed her goodbye in the mornings, asked about her day, watched TV with her at night. She had no idea. And that was the point. because I wasn't going to give her the satisfaction of a dramatic confrontation. No. If this was going to end, it would end on my terms.
I started thinking differently, strategically. If she could lie to my face for this long, then I could do the same, but better. I began gathering everything: financial records, shared assets, documentation, every piece of information that would matter if things turned legal. Quietly, carefully. At the same time, I observed her patterns, her moods, and something became clear. Her happiness wasn't coming from our life anymore. It was coming from him. And that realization, that was the key. 8. Silent revenge. Here's the truth most people don't understand about revenge. It's not about shouting. It's not about chaos. The most effective revenge is silent. It's watching someone build their own happiness and then removing the foundation beneath it, piece by piece, without them realizing. I didn't need to expose her immediately. I needed her to feel secure first, comfortable, certain that she had control. Weeks passed, then months, and during that time, I changed, not outwardly, but internally. I was no longer the same person. The love I once felt faded, replaced by clarity, by detachment, by purpose. I wasn't reacting anymore. I was executing. When everything was ready, I made my move. No yelling, no accusations, just action. Legal papers, assets secured, evidence organized, and then, one evening, I sat her down. She smiled at first, thought it was just another normal conversation, until I placed the documents in front of her and said, "I know." That smile? Gone instantly.
At first, she denied it. Of course she did. Said I was imagining things, that I was being paranoid. But then I showed her. Not everything, just enough. Her face changed, color drained, eyes widened. And for the first time since this all began, she looked scared. Not of me, but of losing everything. She started crying, apologizing, saying it was a mistake, that she loved me, that she'd end it. But here's the thing. None of that mattered anymore. Because the moment I needed her loyalty, she gave it to someone else. And now she was reacting, while I had already moved on emotionally. I stood up, looked at her one last time and said, "I hope it was worth it." Then I walked away.
She thought the worst part was getting caught. She thought the papers on the table, that was the end of it. But the truth is, that was just the moment I stopped being her husband and started becoming something else entirely. After I told her, I know, everything changed. Not for me, for her. She followed me from room to room that night, crying, shaking, trying to explain something that couldn't be explained. It didn't mean anything. I was confused. I love you. I didn't respond, not once, because I had already heard the truth in her voice when she didn't know I was listening. And there's something terrifying about silence. It forces the other person to sit alone with their own guilt. Over the next few days, I watched her unravel. She stopped sleeping, stopped eating properly. Her confidence, gone. The same woman who once walked through life like she owned it, now looked like she was waiting for everything to collapse. And the strange part, I didn't feel satisfaction. Not yet, because this wasn't revenge. This was just consequences catching up. A week later, I finally spoke. Not loudly, not angrily, calm. "I've been thinking." She froze. "Hope is a dangerous thing. I don't think this marriage can continue like this," I said slowly. "But maybe there's a way to start over." Her eyes filled instantly. "You mean fix things?" I paused just long enough. Maybe. That one word, it gave her something to hold on to, and that's exactly what I wanted. I told her something very specific. This version of us is broken. It needs to end before anything new can begin. She didn't fully understand, but she agreed, because people will agree to anything when they're afraid of losing everything. The papers, they weren't just a threat anymore. They became a step toward healing. At least that's what she believed.
The process moved quickly. Too quickly for her to question. Assets were separated, accounts were secured, everything clean. In my favor. She hesitated once, just once. "Are you sure this is the only way?" I looked her dead in the eyes and said, "If you really want us back, this is how we do it." And just like that, she signed. After that, something changed again. She became obedient, careful, desperate to please, trying to be the version of herself she thought I wanted. And I played along. We talked more, spent time together, even laughed occasionally. To her, it probably felt like progress. To me, it was closure, because every moment just confirmed one thing. The woman I loved didn't exist anymore. The divorce was finalized quietly. No drama, no fights, just signatures and silence. A few days later, I invited her over, one last time. She seemed nervous, but hopeful. Like this was it, the moment everything would finally go back to normal. We sat down, same living room, same couch, but it felt like a completely different world. I opened my laptop. She looked confused. "What's this?" I didn't answer. I just pressed play. At first, she didn't understand. Then, her face changed. Recognition, shock, horror. Because now she wasn't hearing fragments. She was hearing everything. The tone, the laughter, the intimacy, the version of herself she never thought she'd have to face. "Please stop," she whispered. I didn't, because I had listened to it alone for months. Now, it was her turn. She broke, completely, crying, shaking, covering her ears. "I didn't realize. I didn't think." "You didn't think I'd find out," I finally said. She looked at me like she didn't recognize me anymore. And maybe she didn't, because I wasn't the same man. Not anymore. I closed the laptop. Silence filled the room. Then I said the only thing that mattered. "You didn't lose me when I found out." She froze. "You lost me when you decided I wasn't enough and thought I'd never know." Tears streamed down her face. "I can fix this, please." I stood up. "No," I said calmly. "You already showed me who you are." I walked to the door, opened it, and for a moment I paused. Not because I was unsure, but because I realized something important. This wasn't revenge. Not really. This was freedom. I looked back at her one last time, broken, crying, alone, and then I said, "I hope it was worth it." And I walked out. Months later, I heard about her. She tried reaching out again and again and again. Messages, calls, emails. Eventually, silence. Someone told me she moved away. New city, new life.
trying to start over. But here's the thing about choices. You don't get to erase them. You just learn to live with them. As for me, I didn't look back, because some endings aren't meant to be fixed. They're meant to teach you exactly who someone really was.
Here's what I learned from all of this. Betrayal doesn't just break your heart. It changes how you see people. But revenge, real revenge, isn't about hurting someone. It's about taking back control and refusing to be the victim in your own story. Revenge isn't always loud. Sometimes it's letting someone realize, too late, what they destroyed. If this story hit you hard, if you've ever experienced betrayal or watched someone get exactly what they deserved, hit that like button. Drop a comment below. What would you have done in this situation? And don't forget to subscribe, because the next story might be even more intense than this one.